Senator Roberts.
Thank you. One Nation strongly supports the COVID-19 Response Commission of Inquiry Bill 2024 that I've co-sponsored, proudly co-sponsored. To use the words of a former Prime Minister, it's time. It's time to accept our duties to the Australian people, not to ourselves and our colleagues. It's time for courage and for truth. My Senate office held the first inquiry into COVID and response measures, called COVID Under Question, on 23rd of March 2022. Another was held, our second, on the 17th of August of the same year. Witnesses included Australian and international experts on health and relatives of people that the COVID injections killed or maimed. All aspects of Australia's COVID response were questioned. Several political parties have participated, making it a true non-partisan, cross-party inquiry. Because of the 2 full days of testimony at these inquiries, my decision-making has been better informed ever since. And that's what a senator must do: inform ourselves. The increasing interest from mainstream media in reporting the harm our COVID measures have caused indicates time is running out for those engaging in a cover-up. The public remains deeply dissatisfied and concerned, gravely concerned, about government's COVID response, state and federal. The people have many questions to be answered before trust can be restored in federal and state governments, politicians, health departments and agencies, medical professionals, medical professions, media and pharmaceutical companies. I find it surprising our health bureaucrats and politicians oppose a judicial inquiry into COVID. To listen to their responses in Senate estimates hearings over the last 4 years, it's clear they do not want to admit to a single mistake. In fact, their answers suggest they consider their performance as being exemplary, worthy of medals and parades. The United Kingdom even called upon the whole country to stand every Thursday evening on their front doorsteps and applaud their health professionals. Can you believe that? The inventor of the Moderna vaccine was given a stage-managed standing ovation at Wimbledon. Certainly, Big Pharma thought so highly of the head of the TGA, our TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration, that Professor Skerritt, they offered him a thank-you job on the board of Medicines Australia, which, despite the grandiose name, is the main pharmaceutical industry lobby group. Heady days indeed. Those days are over. That's it. To those in this place fighting a rearguard action against a tidal wave of knowledge and accountability, it must be now clear to you the battle is lost. Public anger is not going away. It's here to stay until you restore trust. Trust in the medical profession is lower than at any time I can recall, and I fear where that will lead if not corrected. Every new unexplained death, every new heartbreak increases public realisation of what was done to the people, our people in Australia. Despite statistical sleight of hand, excess deaths are not falling. The genetic time bomb of mRNA vaccines is still ticking. More people are dying and more will die. The failure of our regulatory authorities to protect us is a crime. Approving a novel vaccine that killed people is a crime, homicide. Banning existing products that had proven efficacy and safety in order to drive sales of the so-called vaccine is a crime. And finally, covering up this corrupt process is a crime. Those who approved the vaccine knew, or rightly should have known, it was a gene therapy of a type which has failed a generation of safety testing. Five United States, Texas, Utah, Kansas, Mississippi and Louisiana, are currently suing Pfizer for knowingly concealing vaccine-caused myocarditis, pericarditis, failed pregnancies and deaths. The complaints allege Pfizer falsely claimed that its vaccine retained high efficacy against variants, despite knowing the reverse to be true. Protection dropped quickly over time and did not protect against new variants. Marketing the vaccine as safe and effective despite its known risks is a violation of consumer law in these 5 states. The lawsuit alleges Pfizer engaged in censorship with social media companies to silence people criticising its safety and efficacy claims. proof of which has been public knowledge since Elon Musk released the Twitter files in December 2022. The lawsuit charges civil conspiracy between Pfizer, the US Department of Health and Human Services, and others, quote, this is the quote, to willfully conceal, suppress or omit facts, material facts relating to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Under America's PrEP Act, Pfizer has indemnity for injuries. That indemnity is invalidated through making false and misleading claims. The reason this relates to Australia and to Australians is because our contract with Pfizer, which provided indemnity against injury, can be negated through Pfizer's misconduct. And misconduct there was, as I'm sure this Commission of Inquiry will discover. To taxpayers wondering why the expense of this inquiry is needed, here's a thought. If we have a chance to move the cost of vaccine harm from the taxpayer to the perpetrator, we must take that opportunity. The guilty should pay. Taxpayers should not pay. The grand jury evidence gathered to prepare the United States court case from 5 states that I mentioned earlier applies to Australia as well. It makes horrifying reading. 1. Pfizer's chairman and CEO, Dr. Buller, a veterinarian, not a doctor, declined government funding in order to prevent the government's ability to oversee the vaccine development, testing and manufacture. That's not something one does with a safe and properly made product. 2. Pfizer's independence from Operation Warp Speed allowed it to demand a tailor-made contract that did not include the normal clauses protecting taxpayers' interests. 3. The investigation found Pfizer willfully concealed, suppressed and omitted safety and efficacy data relating to its COVID-19 vaccine and kept hidden through confidentiality agreements. 4th, Pfizer had a written agreement with the United States government that Pfizer had to approve any messaging around the vaccine. I suspect the inquiry will find the same arrangement applied in Australia. In effect, Pfizer told our regulators what to say about their product. 5. Pfizer used an extended study timeline to conceal critical data relating to the safety and effectiveness of its COVID-19 vaccine. The study timeline was repeatedly pushed out to avoid revealing the results of the clinical trials until after billions of doses had been given. I'll say that again. To avoid revealing the results of the clinical trials until after billions of doses had been given. Instead, Pfizer submitted a Hollywood version of the safety trials which showed efficacy and safety that their real trials did not, and their health authorities bought it. Our health authorities bought it, state and federal. We're 3 years into COVID and scientists still can't review Pfizer's COVID-19 raw trial data. 8. So when Professor Skerritt said in Senate estimates hearings that the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, his Therapeutic Goods Administration, had analysed all of the trial data, that was a lie. They used Pfizer's special data. 9. Pfizer kept its COVID-19 vaccine's true effects hidden through destroying the trial control group, invalidating the whole study. This was not gold standard research. This was dangerous and fraudulent behaviour. 10. Pfizer rigged the trial through excluding individuals who had been diagnosed with COVID-19, who were immunocompromised, pregnant or breastfeeding, or who were simply unwell. Why did the TGA claim the vaccine was safe for these very people when the vaccine was not tested on these people? 11. The statement that the vaccine worked, even if you already had COVID, is therefore a lie. Yet that lie was used to expand the market and more money. 12. Pfizer maintained its own secret adverse events database, which was obtained in court process and showed in the first 3 months of the rollout 158,893 adverse events resulted, including 1,223 deaths. 13. Pfizer was receiving so many adverse event reports that it had to hire 600 additional full-time staff, 600 extra people to monitor the adverse event reports. 14. And finally, while Pfizer tested its COVID-19 vaccine on healthy individuals in 2020, Pfizer and its partner BioNTech quietly tested its COVID-19 vaccine on pregnant rats. Test rats produced fetuses with severe soft tissue and skeletal malformations, failed to become pregnant, and failed to implant embryos at more than double the control group rate. Amongst other side effects, some rats lost their entire litter. Pfizer did not issue a press release announcing the rat fertility study's findings, and when asked, lied about the outcome. And I can't help but think about women, humans, suffering as a result of this. We know that. The United States is achieving what Australia is not: rigorous inquiry and testing of the law. What are you afraid of? In Australia, this is behaviour which, under normal circumstances, would already have resulted in the commission of inquiry. Our delay in calling that inquiry damns us. Other nations are now ahead of us. South Korea has produced a study which analysed 4.3 million individuals, 4.3 million, comparing the rates of various new medical conditions in vaccinated versus unvaccinated groups over 3 months. The study revealed that the vaccinated experienced a 138% increase in mild cognitive impairment, a 93% increase in sleep disorders, a 23% rise in Alzheimer's disease, a 44% rise in anxiety and related disorders, a 68% rise in depression. In Australia, following my questions to the Institute of Health and Welfare at the inquiry into excess mortality in Australia, evidence was presented that the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare could have done this same research. It chose not to. Our health authorities are not conducting this research because they don't want to know the answer. They want to hide from the truth, hide from the homicide that's been caused in this country. I asked the Senate to pass this bill so we can get the answers ourselves, which is, as senators, our sworn duty.